Bolliger Mabillard debuted their hypercoaster in 1999. This is the company's mega coaster. These rides typically feature 4-across seating and perfectly parabolic hills full of floater airtime. I have been fortunate enough to have ridden all 17 of these rides that opened, so in this video, I will rank all the B&M hypercoasters. Important distinction before starting. Coaster enthusiasts refer to hypercoasters as any coaster that is 200 to 299 feet or 61 to 91 meters tall. B&M classifies all their mega coasters as hypers, regardless of their height. While most meet the height requirements of a hypercoaster, there are some that are shorter, and some are gigacoasters that exceed 300 feet or 91 meters. I also want to note that every single ride in this list offers sustained floater airtime. To avoid sounding redundant, I am going to try to limit use of that phrase. Assume the rides have that type of airtime unless otherwise noted. Similarly, these rides are very smooth, so assume that's the case once again unless I note otherwise. This list will try to highlight what each ride does better or worse than the other rides like it. Number 17. Apollo's Chariot at Busch Gardens, Williamsburg. This was the first B&M Hyper to open. While it was ahead of its time, the airtime is much weaker than rides higher in this list. That being said, the first drop is still excellent in the back row, and I love this ride setting in the woods and above the river. It results in some awesome night rides. Number 16. Flight of the Himalayan Eagle music roller coaster at Happy Valley, Beijing. This was the only B&M Hyper to ever open in China. This one has a cool location running along the midway and over the park's lagoon, complete with a splashdown element. While the airtime is better than Apollo's Chariot, it is not as good as rides higher in this list. Most hills in this ride are banked, which seems to eat into the negative G's. The other rides typically have straight airtime hills. Number 15. Nitro at Six Flags Great Adventure. This is another one of the earlier B&M Hypers. This one has a wooded setting like Apollo's Chariot. Then the airtime strength is similar to Himalayan Eagle. I prefer Nitro though because it's considerably taller and a longer ride as well. Number 14. Diamondback at Kings Island. Cedar Fair went on a B&M Hyper kick at the end of the 2000s. This one also goes into the woods, but it has significantly stronger floater airtime than the prior rides in the first half. And that airtime is more consistent across the whole train. This coaster does have a bad rattle in the first few pullouts though, which impacts the re-rideability. Number 13. Thunderstriker at Carowinds. The Hyper formerly known as Intimidator has comparable forces to Diamondback, especially if you catch on a day when the trims are off or barely hitting. The location is not as interesting as the prior rides as it runs along a parking lot, but it's glass smooth unlike Diamondback, which is why I give it the edge. Number 12. Raging Bull at Six Flags Great America. This was the second B&M Hyper to open, and it features a unique twister layout. While it's underwhelming in the front rows, this ride is excellent in the back rows. The drops pack a wallop. A few, such as the first drop, have airtime strong enough to cross over into the flagector territory. That has especially been the case in recent years because the trim on the Camelback has been dialed back. Number 11. Behemoth at Canada's Wonderland. This ride's best airtime is similar to Diamondback or Thunderstriker, but it has a superior layout. Whereas Diamondback's airtime weakens in the second half, and Intimidator has a pitiful finale, Behemoth is consistently good start to finish. You have a series of tall hills that all deliver, and a helix finale with some G's in airtime. Number 10. Candymonium at Hershey Park. There's a noticeable jump from the past few rides here. This is a newer Hyper with shorter trains, so it features a more agile layout than the prior rides. It also helps that there is not a true mid-course brake run, so this coaster is great pacing the whole way through. And the first half is strong floater airtime. The final few hills are not as powerful, especially if the second trim hits, but the visuals are cool enough wrapping around the Kisses fountain. Number 9. Mako at SeaWorld Orlando. This ride's first half is top-notch. The first few hills offer some of the best and most plentiful floater airtime on the planet, even more so than Candymonium. The first Camelback in particular is 5 straight seconds of airtime. The finale is light on the airtime, but it's neat banking above the midway and lagoon. Number 8. Goliath at La Ronde. This is floater airtime the ride. The layout is a seemingly never-ending series of camelbacks and bunny hills, and nothing else. And I am perfectly fine with that. I ride these rides for the airtime after all. It is not quite as forceful as the past 2 rides, but the sheer quantity of airtime hills is what gives it the edge. And it also helps this ride offer stunning views overlooking the Montreal skyline. Number 7. Leviathan at Canada's Wonderland. This is the first of 3 Giga coasters on this list. The outward leg is perfection, offering airtime similar to Mako's Power, but the larger hills make it last even longer. The first drop is particularly stunning. The first drops in the Gigas are among the best drops anywhere, and you have more speed than the prior rides. But the return run has some dud elements that keep it out of the top 5. Number 6. Orion at Kings Island. This is the company's newest Giga coaster. It is a more complete and better paced layout than Leviathan because every element is at least solid, and I also prefer how the ride runs along the trees instead of a parking lot. This results in some sweet night rides. The first drop and return hills offer the ride's best airtime, crossing over into the Flagector territory at points. Number 5. Silver Star Europa Park. This hypercoaster is a first half with large camelbacks much like Goliath, but the return run is what really allows it to stand out. This one gets stronger as it goes, whereas some others get weaker. There are 2 drops that offer genuine ejector airtime, which is a rare and welcome experience in this model. I prefer that type of airtime in general. Then the Helix and S-Bend are fun as well. Number 4. Hollywood Dream at Universal Studios Japan. This is the company's smallest hyper, but it offers airtime comparable to Goliath if you're on the ends of the train. It also offers awesome visuals overlooking the busy park, and there are some funky banked hills and a forceful helix towards the end. But this one is particularly noteworthy for the special backwards train. This gives the drops a freefall sensation in addition to all that airtime. Number 3. Goliath at Six Flags Over Georgia. This is the most aggressive B&M hyper. Many hills in this ride toe the line of floater and ejector. Then the turnaround helix is arguably the most intense element on the model, as it is an automatic gray out for me each time, and there is not a mid-course brake run, so the train powers through the whole thing. Some of the valleys are rattly, but the layout and forces are strong enough to keep it in the top 3. Number 2. Shambhala at PortAventura. This is a massive hypercoaster. It offers a series of large drops with some of the best airtime the model has to offer, and because of the super long trains and drop length, they also tend to offer a freefall sensation. Then this one has fantastic views overlooking mountains and the sea, and the mid-course does not occur until very late in the ride, so the pacing is excellent for the most part. And coming in at number 1 is Fury 325 at Carowinds. This is the company's best Giga coaster by far. This one takes the best aspects of Leviathan and Orion and offers a longer ride. You have the amazing outward leg of Leviathan, complete with an extra speed hill. Then the final few hills offer the Flagector airtime you experience on Orion's finale. Whereas some of the other hypers feel very controlled, this ride has an undeniable edge to it. That is how I rank all 17 of the currently operating B&M hypercoasters. What are your favorites or thoughts on this list? Let me know down in the comments. If you enjoyed this countdown, I would appreciate it if you gave this video a like, and you consider subscribing, because there'll be a lot more roller coaster and amusement park videos here at Canopy Coaster. Thanks for watching.